Well, it's an icon, it's world famous and it's uniquely Australian. It's the GAN, which this week celebrated its 90th birthday. The railway opened up Central Australia, became a legend and then an international tourist attraction. Reporter Hendrik Gout and cameraman Tony Salvatore were invited along for the ride.
The famous passenger train from Adelaide to Alice Springs in the dead centre of Australia's red centre.
It is one of the great rail journeys of the world.
He should know. He's Steve Kerningham and he's manager of Journey Beyond, which runs the GAN.
There are people that come from all over the world and they've done trips on the Orient Express, they do the Rocky Mountaineer, and they come and they do the GAN.
It's not a steam whistle these days. This is a diesel. And in the locomotive, driver Graham Dardler.
37 years as a driver, driving trains, so I've got a rough idea where the layout of the track, let's say.
But it was steam back on its first birthday, 1929, born in the same year as 90-year-old passenger Mavis Emsley.
But it's my big celebration.
Historian Valmay Henkel.
How important was the opening of the railway line to the opening up of South Australia?
Well, absolutely vital. It opened up the centre and provided methods of carrying gear and stuff that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Linking the continent.
That's a good phrase.
Before the train, transport was via camel. The cameleers mostly from British India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Ergo, the GAN. Passenger Sue Dardler is descended from one of those cameleers.
It's a very harsh country. You have to be strong and tough to live in this country, but it's a great country.
Today, Sue's descendants are still Central Australians, including her nephew, Graham.
The legacies continue to what we're doing today, being modern-day cameleers, I suppose.
Today, travelling in conditioned air with superb dining, My Kitchen Travels, fine wine, lounge cars. Every passenger boarding the GAN in Adelaide is greeted by bubbles, though some opt for coffee or both. On this trip, we were offered a souvenir Akubra and Bollinger. Then, the 1,500-kilometre journey begins. Through the mid-north, then the north, to the centre. Early GAN journeys weren't quite as safe or luxurious. During the war, 30 troop trains a day passed through Hawker en route to Darwin and the Pacific War. In early days, the track followed a tortuous route. The steam trains needed water, and plenty of it, though, not this much. Eventually, parts of the old line were rerouted, the old stations bypassed. We had just one stop, a deserted siding near Pimba, a stage, a concert in the desert under the dark umbrella of night. An outback birthday party like no other. Shane Howard from the Australian rock band Goanna, Christina New, Adam Thompson and, appropriately for the GAN, Joe Camilleri.
Really awesome. Great concert.
Magical, yes. Unique, yes. Surreal, yes.
Excellent, yeah, no, thoroughly enjoying ourselves. Great way under the starlight, yeah.
I think it's amazing. It's a great way to celebrate the GAN's 90th.
And then it was back on the train and into the night, across the desert, to the Springs of Alice, 1,500 kilometres, 1,500 reasons to smile.
Well, I do actually enjoy this, and the comradeship, the mateship you make along the way.
If ever there's murder on this express, the victim might be Journey Beyond's affable boss, Steve, who's done this trip maybe 20 times. The possible culprit, a mild-mannered traveller. The motive? To take his job.
I think so. I certainly feel fortunate in this role, so.
And only 10 years to the centenary party.
First, the shocking and deadly crash at the bottom of the southeastern freeway. 4 years after 2 lives were lost in the horror smash, the case against truck driver Darren Hicks collapsed just this week when the DPP dropped all charges against him. But the question remains, what caused the truck to lose control? Hendrik Gout has our investigation.
Police, paramedics and firefighters in their dozens worked frantically to free the victims.
Is truck driving in South Australia safe enough?
No.
2 dead. Another, the truck driver, had his leg amputated on site, so the rest of him could be freed from the wreckage.
So this was one of the more complex rescues that we've ever come across.
August 2014, an out-of-control truck, 150 kilometres an hour, comes hurtling down the southeast freeway. Can't make the turn, slams into 3 cars. 2 families devastated. The truck driver, Darren Hicks, now with a prosthetic leg. Truckies Union boss, Ian Smith.
The day of the tragedy, he was put in a vehicle he didn't know that was 15 years old.
That's not good enough.
No.
Mount Barker in the Adelaide Hills. Dozens of new homes being built every week. A liquid waste truck picks up a load of septic waste to deliver to Heathfield, not far away.
Unfortunately, when he got here, he found this facility closed, and that's when he made the fateful decision to deliver instead to the Bolivar waste treatment plant. And that meant having to go down the freeway.
Unfortunately for him, he was put behind a machine that turned into a lethal bomb.
Nearly 50,000 cars and trucks a day. Fatal crashes far too common.
The cab ended up in a creek below. Mr. Venning died at the scene.
Cleaning up the carnage after another monster smash at the bottom of the freeway.
Truckies hold memorial services, lay wreaths, march and demonstrate. The carnage goes on.
40% of people killed in workplaces are transport workers. And what we say is that's not good enough.
You're a painter now. Are you glad not to be a truck driver?
Yeah, definitely.
But Richard Crook was a truck driver. He worked for the same company, drove the same truck as Hicks did, some 3 weeks before the fatal crash.
How many kilometres would you have driven in that truck?
Over 1,000 kilometres. 3rd gear. It didn't like going to 3rd gear. It'd crunch. Sometimes it wouldn't go in, so you'd have to try to put it back and forth, or you'd be in neutral and you'd be gaining speed or heavy on the brakes. A week to 2 weeks before the actual accident, I was doing grease traps at Ingle Farm Shopping Centre. They've got a slight slope on the driveway near the grease traps, and my truck started rolling away. So it had the air brake on. For some reason it was moving, so I had to chop the wheel up.
Rick can't say what happened to the truck after he stopped driving it, but we do know it was still on Cleanaway's fleet here at the company's Wingfield depot. Cleanaway, formerly Trans-Pacific, Australia's largest liquid waste transporter. Cleanaway may even do your weekly garbage pickup.
It's a company with a checkered past. In WA back in 2011, its alleged brakes on one of its trucks failed, causing it to cross onto the wrong side of the road and into the path of a Kia Rio, killing the car driver.
Immediately after the freeway crash, Cleanaway temporarily takes its 2,800-strong truck fleet off the road. Garbage piles up around Australia as roadside bins aren't emptied. Police come to Wingfield.
Police have visited the truck company and inspected a number of vehicles.
And they then charged Cleanaway for allowing an unsafe truck on the road. The case against Cleanaway was never brought to court. The charges dropped when Cleanaway said it didn't know about the faulty brakes because it outsourced maintenance to another company, Adelaide Heavy Diesel. And who owned Adelaide Heavy Diesel? Roger Grant Thompson. So you're the owner of Adelaide Heavy Diesel?
Yeah.
And the truck that you have done maintenance on was involved in a crash that killed 2 people.
You get rid of him. My lawyers will speak to you, so now you're trespassing. I've asked you to leave.
I'm happy to leave.
Righto.
Here is his lawyer's letter. It says Thompson and Adelaide Heavy Diesel have a complete defence to any proceedings which may be pursued, and that liability for the crash rests entirely with other parties. So who, if anyone, is legally responsible for what happened?
It is one of the most notorious stretches of road in Adelaide and in South Australia, and it requires proper training of anybody that goes up and down that road.
Darren, now with one leg, was until this Wednesday facing 2 counts of causing death by dangerous driving and 1 of causing serious harm. Those charges have now been dropped, but the extent of any civil proceedings to do with the crash is not yet known. And Roger Thompson, still a company director, still involved in heavy diesel maintenance. And you never know when you might meet one on the road.
First tonight, hospital patients sick of broken promises. Patients, families and staff at Adelaide's major hospitals believed, with good reason, the state government would slash car parking fees. Instead, they've gone up. And it's not just about cost, it's also about safety. Hendrik Gout has our story.
After dark, and this nurse is finishing her shift at a hospital in Adelaide's north.
They do feel vulnerable, they are scared and frightened. It's a significant issue in terms of safety and security.
We've got nurses and cleaners and other staff who are working very late at night. They're forced to now go a lot further away from the hospital to park their car.
The reason, not always enough space in hospital car parks.
It would be nice if that parking was provided for workers in the hospital.
And if spaces are available, they're sometimes unaffordable.
That's right. So if you're a cleaner, if you're a catering staff or you're an enrolled nurse, you're not earning a significant amount of money.
And it's just as bad if you're here because you've got cancer.
I mean, you've got enough problems if you've got to come in here. I've got melanoma, cancer, and I've got to get it cut out. I could be here longer, I don't know.
The high cost of hospital car parking adds unnecessary stress, said Liberal Stephen Wade when he was in opposition.
He said that charges at hospital car parking were fleecing people.
It's 2018. Opposition leader Stephen Marshall is trying to win government. His campaign smells votes on parking fees and the hundreds of thousands of patients, family, friends and staff who pay them. Chris Picton, a senior Labor MP then fighting to hold his seat of Ghana, remembers the campaign.
The government promised that they were going to reduce car parking prices by $3 million.
The campaign hit a nerve, made the news. The Liberals would make hospital parking more affordable. They had that as a policy during the election campaign.
It was a black and white promise from the election, and they've now...
blue and white promise.
Blue and white. And they've now whacked up those charges by $33 million.
During the election, you campaigned against hospital car parking fees. You've raised it $45 a week, 129%. Over $700 a year. That's effectively a pay cut for everybody who works at the hospital.
Well, let's be clear, the car park rates haven't increased since 2011. All we've done in terms of this increase is do the indexation that should have been applied over those last years.
Did you know that the car parking charges here are going to go up?
No. I mean, there's a lot of cars coming here every day. It's just revenue raising, isn't it? A bit of milking.
The Nurses Federation's Elizabeth DeBars agrees.
We don't believe that it's an appropriate way of revenue raising.
It's just not fair. These are the people who are going to save the lives of South Australians, and the government is stiffing them.
Government makes millions, but it's not the only beneficiary. Part of the money goes overseas. This one is managed by Wilson Parking, a multinational operating in Australia, New Zealand, Asia, owned by one of Hong Kong's richest family empires. Go to Flinders Hospital. Your fees, in part, going to Happy Valley. Not this Happy Valley in Adelaide, this Happy Valley in Hong Kong, and the $50 billion Kwong Group. Parliamentary estimates in June.
Do you pay for your car park in the city?
I'm not aware that I pay for my car park in the city.
During estimates, you were asked whether or not you paid for your own car park here in the office. You said you would take it on notice. Do you pay?
Hendrik, you're a former staffer. You know how these arrangements are made.
How many of your staff, Minister, have access to a car park as part of their salary package?
I need to take that on notice.
Is it true that the Gazette lists James Murphy, Greg Westenberg, Narelle Hards, Karen McColl, Anna Tree, Jonathan Nichols, members of your staff, as having access to a free car park?
I'll need to take that on notice.
I haven't worked for 12 weeks, mainly because of the illness that I got, so it makes it hard. I think it's ridiculous.
What's the money going to go to?
It'll probably pay for a free car park for the minister.